Am I the asshole for enforcing my kids' friends to follow the same phone rules as our kids? My kids are 17, 14, and 8. The 8-year-old doesn't have a phone, but my two teens do. The rules are that they are not allowed to have their phone in their bedroom alone or bathroom during any time of the day. And at night, they bring us, me, their dad, their phones, and we lock them up.
Wait. The kids are 17, 14, and 8. Okay,
Yes.
just keep that in mind.
So the 14 and 17-year-old have cell phones, but aren't allowed to have them when they're alone or at night.
Okay.
These rules are mostly because I know how vile the internet can be. I've had my younger siblings who grew up during the rise of the internet tell me horror stories. As well, I very clearly remember the things I saw on Omegle as an adult. Well, what are you doing? What are you looking up, Dad?
Yeah.
I really don't want to risk any of these issues with my kids, as well as it helps them not procrastinate homework or chores, and we spend a lot more family time together.
That sucks.
This past
Your kids hate that. Like, they actually hate that. Just telling you.
This past week, my oldest had a new friend come over. The girls were going to my daughter's room, and so I asked for their phones. My daughter looked embarrassed, but handed her phone over. Her friend then asked me what I meant. I told her of my rule, and she told me that she wanted to keep her phone. I then told them that they could stay out in the living room. The girl got a little bit irritated, but they ended up staying out in the living room. The hangout then turned into a sleepover, and I called the kid's dad and talked to him a bit about our rules. The dad was a little bit skeptical of our rules, but agreed. He told me he would relay this info to the mom as she was working. Nighttime came and everyone gave me their phones except for my daughter's friend. She said that she felt more comfortable keeping her phone in case of an emergency. I told her if there was an emergency, she can come wake me and my husband up. She then told me she really didn't feel comfortable with that in case she wanted to text her mom to sleep. I told her if that was the case that she needed to just go home because in our house the rule is no phones in the bedroom, period. She called her mom in another room and I could hear her crying, and while I felt bad, I stood my ground. The mom apparently had just gotten off work and not talked to the dad yet and thought our phone rule was creepy and invasive and told me that when she got to my house. She said that I should have just let her daughter keep her phone and told her that her daughter needed to follow my rules. My oldest is now embarrassed and really upset with me, and even my husband thinks I should have relaxed a little. I don't think I did anything wrong, but am I the asshole for not letting the girl keep her phone? Edit, just to clarify, the girl knew before the sleepover that they turned in their phones before they went to bed and also knew her phone was included. She was not blindsided.
Okay.
This is a good way of getting your kids to not have friends
This
who
is
ever
a
want
good
to come
way to make
over.
your kids hate you.
Kind of, right?
A lesson in how to make your teenagers hate you.
And we're not parents.
Yeah.
So we don't ever have to deal with this kind of bullshit. I could see there being some reasonable lengths you could take to prevent your kids from spending like 12 hours a day on your phone and getting addicted to social media. And like I had friends growing up in high school where like they had parents who would limit their quote unquote screen time. And we didn't have phones back then, so it was easier to police.
Limit, because you just be like, time to get off the computer.
Yeah, you can't be on the computer playing video games for like 8 hours after school.
Yeah, or you got to go to bed at 10 because you have school the next day.
Something like that. But you're right. Like the outcome here is almost certainly going to be that your teenage kids just resent you for setting these rules. And as soon as they leave the house and are not under your roof and under their rules, they're going to be exposed to the internet anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem here. And I think it's the 17-year-old kid who the mother was saying to her child and her child's friend, who is presumably also around 17, that she can't have her phone. So imagine in today's day and age, a mother telling her daughter's friend, you can't have your phone, give it to me, give me your personal property with like all of your messages, all of your information on it. I'll hold on to that. Now go play in the living room where I can see you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's actually ridiculous. And I would put up a fight if I was
we didn't even acknowledge the friend thing. We were just thinking of their actual kids having to live with this. But for the friend, if I'm...
Like, absolutely not. Respectfully, ma'am, but absolutely not.
Yeah, there's a respect in observing the rules of someone's house you are a guest in. But it's like, I'm a teenage girl in a stranger's house or a friend's house. But I'm keeping my phone. That is my lifeline. Like, so much is on your phone.
Well, I think that's a good question though, because which rules override which? Because the friend, the 17-year-old, has her own set of rules that her parents have given to her because she's still under the age of 18 and lives under their roof and follows their rules for social media or having a cell phone or whatever. But does she have to follow the rules of whatever household she enters, or no? She follows her own household's rules for like her own use of social media
Well,
and
no,
having a
if
phone.
you're visiting a friend and you're under the supervision of someone else, presumably you follow that person's rules to some
But
degree.
not if it means that you have to confiscate your private property. Like I feel like there's a line here.
I think most parents just understand there's some reasonableness and limits to that and wouldn't impose their excessive or unusual
else.
parenting practices. But like I remember growing up, I had a friend who wasn't allowed to watch TV at all. If I went over to their house, I
TV.
wasn't going to watch
And,
TV.
and what did that make you do? Want to go to their house less?
No, we would never hang out at that kid's house. We would always go to other people's houses, clearly, right?
But did the parents of that kid, were they okay with that kid going to other people's house and watching TV?
This was like 25 years ago. I'm
But
trying to remember.
you would think they
I remember
wouldn't be.
seeing that kid outside of his house, so he left. He wasn't chained up in a room, right?
Right, but maybe they didn't like the idea of him going to other kids' houses because he could watch that nasty television.
This idea that like I know what's on the internet. You think your kids?
No, you don't.
First of all, you don't.
First of all, you don't. This is what you just put this on the internet and embarrassed yourself. You played yourself.
You can teach your kids how to be responsible about consuming and shit. But again, like a lot of this is just going to be people just kind of have to learn this for themselves to some degree. You should be responsible as a parent and try to teach your kids to be responsible with their internet use, but also like they are going to find this stuff.
Yeah,
Unless
you can't
if
stop
they
it.
leave the house, if they're going to school, they're hanging out with friends who have phones, they're seeing what's on the internet. And like, you know what? Like, I think it's safe. If I had a kid, like the Omegle thing to me kind of implies that like maybe they'll see like pornography or something, right? In the 90s, little boys would like, you know what? Something like a story you hear from a lot of guys who grew up in the 90s, one of the kids' creepy older brother would have like an issue of Playboy and a bunch of kids would like get together in the woods with no parents around to look at pictures of naked ladies.
They're gonna find the naked ladies.
I would much rather my kid could just safely in the privacy of his room see pictures of naked ladies on his cell phone.
Yeah,
I think.
I think this parent is doing a disservice to their children and their children's friends by proxy, but mostly to their children, because they're just going to alienate their own kids from their friends or from the experience of understanding the internet. And I'm just someone who much more believes in like harm reduction strategies in general. Like introduce your kids to the internet, educate them, let them explore. If they find something that's alarming, like have them trust you enough so they can talk to you about it. And learn about the internet yourself, Mom, because it sounds like you don't know much other than Omegle.
That's our homepage, Omegle.
Yeah, I just think this method just doesn't work. I knew someone in my life who treated their 15 or 16-year-old child this exact same way, and they would take their phone from them at like 8 p.m. every day. And if, like, this is just a few years ago, and if I'm a 15, 16-year-old in today's age, and my parent is taking my phone away, and meanwhile, all my friends have their phone, like, I'm embarrassed. I'm being shamed by my friends. Like, I'm being excluded from the activities that all of my friends are doing on the internet. And not all of it is bad. People are planning soccer practice. They're planning about the prom dresses. They're sharing pictures. They're talking about homework. I'm not saying
I got to push back on you a little here.
Uh-oh, we got a dad in the room.
Well, no, because you specifically said the overnight thing, right? My issue with these people is they never trust their kids and teach them how to be responsible themselves by ever having any privacy. So to me, the issue is that these kids aren't even using the internet without their parents being in the same room as them.
And they're
That's what I
17
think is
years
insane.
old.
The idea of, being like, hey, it's time for bed. I'm taking your phone so you're not scrolling through Instagram feeling terrible about yourself for the next 6 hours instead of sleeping. I'm actually a little more okay with the idea of not letting your kid go into bed when they should be sleeping at night without a phone. I can at least see the logic there.
I know it's really hard to draw a line. I feel like that's totally reasonable if your child is like 10. And you're like, no, it's bedtime.
Sure.
After 8 p.m., no more electronics. We got to get ready or else you're just going to stay up all night and like you have school. But when your kid's like, and again, I don't really know the appropriate line. I'm not a parent. But just if I'm trying to picture myself at that age, I feel like by the time I'm 15, 16, I need a little bit more freedom or else I start to resent my parents. And if my parents are taking these things away from me that friends use as like permanent communication tools all the time now, I would start getting really pissed off and resentful and go out of my way to try and find ways to communicate or to piss my parents off. And I did that when we had landlines. I remember like my parents used to pick up the phone and like listen in on my conversations when I was like having a conversation with a best friend or maybe a boy that I was interested in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was a teenager, but I found it incredibly like disrespectful that they would do that to try and like confiscate my privacy, and I didn't have any other way. So what do? You go to your friend's house who you know their parents aren't home because they're still at work, and you call the people you want to call. So you're going to find a way. So, and then that just makes you as the 15-year-old or whatever in the situation, like resent your own parents.
To teach your kids how to be responsible, you need to give them the opportunity to be responsible for themselves.
Yeah, we're advocating for everyone out there who wants the freedom to use their own damn phone. However, there's one more thing we're missing, is that often parents, just to balance this out, will give the argument of, well, I'm paying for your phone, so it's my right to confiscate your phone whenever I want. That's the argument I hear a lot of.
Does anyone seriously argue? Like,
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that this is what parents say in defense of themselves.
Yeah, but that's like parents you see that like... won't let a kid have like a door on their bedroom because they're not allowed to have privacy in their own home. Like that is frankly just insane, right? And yeah, I get it. Counter-argument. You own the house. Technically, you can do that.
Technically, you can lock your kids in the house.
But that is just bad parenting.
Yeah.
Coming from someone who has no idea what it is to be a parent.
Yeah, so just because you pay your kid's cell phone bill, doesn't mean that you're allowed to completely police it. That is not the reason to completely police it.
I mean, you can, but that doesn't mean you should.
You should, yeah. Thanks, Dad.